Somebody left this. I love this comment. Oh, that's not it. Shit. Oh, I hope I didn't lose it. Fuck. Okay, this is a actual sob story. So he says, Mitra, so true. Oh wow, my screen's gonna keep turning off on me. I don't know why I did that in my settings. Both hardcore narcissists that I've lived with. So could you imagine? Let me just real quick on that. If you have one around, it might be tolerable if you're prepared. When you have to live with two of them, oh, that's exciting. That's gonna be fun for you. To come up with all these little, tricks that you have to in order to avoid these narcissists. Whatever it is, maybe it's probably playing off of something personal, like playing off of their weakness, for example. You know one's a compulsive liar, but they always try to invite you to things, and so you have to like make up a reason to like not be, like, oh, I have a thing, or like I would totally love to go, and then you might actually like sometimes go with it because you're like, why, I've been avoiding this person for like years, and they're probably gonna catch on to, to the fact that I know they're narcs, and then it's like a fucking, where does the rabbit hole end, basically? Anyway, we know, we get it. The point here is this person lives with two narcissists, unfortunately. So we have to imagine, we have to come into this knowing that whatever they're saying, that there's reasons, right? It's not just like because they enjoy complaining, because they're literally telling us they've gone into figuring out what an narc is, obviously. So they're not completely inconvenienced, right? It's obviously they've done that for a reason. And now they're making it a point to clarify with people, hey, it's two of these, right? So they told me their sad story, and I reciprocated to that as to the invitation for relationships, as we all do, okay? And didn't understand on that time why tens of others, I love the terminology they keep using, on that time, why tens of others around know that story, but simply don't pay too much attention to these poor ones. And so he's pointing out what's like obvious to all of us, but then obviously not that obvious, right? Because why do a lot of us keep doing it? Because we're completely unaware of the actual narc situation on this planet. That's why we keep doing it. Okay, so he says, now I know why. They were smarter than me with active sense of self-defense. And I was mentally weak and arrogant enough to think I can save them, he says. Wow, it's rare to see this level of honesty, guys. Okay, so this is what Richard Grannon is pointing out, is that this is exactly the attitude we need to have when we become victims of narcissistic abuse, right? They say, I was weak, right? Because the first step is admitting it. If this was AA, he would say, I was weak. He would say, I drank, I was weak, and I was arrogant enough to drink. But he says, I was mentally weak and arrogant enough to think that I can save them. So 11 years, and both of them destroyed me inside out. One left me with a child, another drained me awfully. Oh, okay, this is a woman. I don't know why I assumed it was a man, I guess, because they didn't have a picture. Okay. Or maybe it is men, I don't know, but they got left with a child, another drained me awfully, beat me and left scars, real ones, and wow. Wow. And I lost my growing professional career. Note, one of them was a woman. So indeed, narcissists have similar tactics regardless of biological sex. Again, I am so glad they're pointing that out. The sex thing should be obvious. Again, it's not obvious. So a lot of people, like, we encounter these narcs, but then we're too selective about it. And so what does the community do? Automatically, right? The community hones in on that person, and they start with this like victim blaming mentality because it's easy, right? We're kind of smart. We're not that smart, but we're kind of smart creatures. We like to, give other people the weight. We like to just be dead weight all the time with anything. And then we just figure out a way because we use language. Like humans have evolved enough to think of their own language. And so we kind of think that that's like it's going to save us from everything, but it's not. And so just because we word things in a certain way, just because we say, well, it's because I love you. That's why I'm harassing you all the time. It, you know, in the animal world, that shit wouldn't fly. It'd be like, I'm attacking you or I'm running from you. That's it. There are no other options. There are no words you're going to say to me. But this isn't the animal world, right? And so it's not so much that the concept of abusing our language is a bad thing, because this has happened since before the invention of language, right? And so naturally, we have to understand that there's a new problem now that is worth assessing. And maybe it's the way that we are acquiring information. Maybe it's the parts that we're choosing to listen to and the parts that we're not choosing to listen to. So it's not one or the other, but the combination of the two, right? That's really causing us to become these victims of abuse. And when you're after so many times, it's like, wow, this shit becomes so apparent that nobody can deny this stuff. And so it's obvious. Like, I see what this person's pointing out is that a lot of the people that have only gone through this one time, or maybe if they've gone through it a million times, it doesn't matter how long it takes. The point is that they get it, right? A lot of people have come to agree on this one thing. There's a reason for that, right? And it's not like an illusion. It hasn't been like, it's clearly not a magician with his tricks, right? These are things that people have come to their own conclusions separately, and now are finally coming together to say, me too, or you know what, guess what, it happened this way this time, but it's the same type, it's the same type of person. Okay. I need water. So why says, oh, okay, that's the end of their comment, but there's so much in here. It's reading Richard Grannon's comments. Narcs take all these things. Oh, this one was my favorite. It's short. Narcs take all the best things in the world: kindness, compassion, love, empathy, hope, and twist it into something dark and cruel. Exactly. Okay, the way they worded it, I like. It's nice because a lot of us, like, the best way to explain anything, obviously, is to tell a story, right? To a normal person, to someone that has real empathy, consideration for other people, any soul in them at all, they can hear your story and sort of adapt to it. They empathize with you. They don't try to use it like in some weird cynical way. Ironic, right? Because that's exactly what she's pointing out. It's like the other fucking attribute here. These are all the components. It's ironic how nobody sees it like that. Or pretends not to, right? But then it's obvious, right? Because, well, if you knew, you would know. Okay, I'm saying that wrong. He who knows, how does it say in the Bible? He who knows, he who thinks he knows doesn't know as he should know. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's basically like we put ourselves on display like this all the time, and these narcs have no choice but to. It's not even like a reason to be mad. It's not any of those things. It's not time to feel any type of way about it. But it's definitely making a whole lot of fucking sense, right? So it's the warping of the truth. It's the taking a real story and changing a couple facets about it to make you now empathize with them instead of the other person, right? And it's always like very well calculated. Like well, not very well, but clearly, right? Otherwise we wouldn't have caught on to them. But it's always calculated because they like they want to it's always something that like that they think that you would never find out, right? They're like, oh, that person doesn't talk to this person, or they get nervous like if they hear of you like talking to them or their friends. It's like, oh wow, oh, my story's gonna fall apart all of a sudden. It already has, but they're not seeing it, right? So they have to like. It's funny to watch. Like I think a lot of us like have become like we've created our own category of like we love to like torment the narcissist and just like let them like fucking crawl out of their own little web of lies because it's funny. Like there's no need to lie about it when everybody already knows. There's no need to feel bad at this point either, right? Because like I said, everybody knows. It's not a question of like right or wrong or blaming people. It's these people are clearly more focused on preventing it from happening, for whatever reason. And so it's like this is Francalatana, I can't even say their name. Outside says they pretend they want all those things and then mimic those feelings like parrots. But inside, by the way, this is a perfect analogy. I always use the parrot and the clown thing as like the metaphor to define these narcs by, because they love repeating things for whatever reason, especially the flying monkey kind, right? And so they're like parrots, but inside they're shallow, dark holes who take pleasure in trickery. Okay, and again, this might sound to somebody who doesn't want to hear it as like, oh, this is just words, it's just nonsense. They're not making like connecting any dots here. But clearly, those of us who have been through enough of it, we're connecting. We're connecting them. So the whole pleasure in trickery is like, wow, the most basic principle of the narc, right? It's not even, let me, because this is even somewhat obscure to me, how people could be that way, but we all get the whole trickery thing, right? We're all like, if somebody like outsmarts someone else in front of us and we get to like, and we understand what's going on, but someone doesn't understand it, then all of a sudden it's funny, right? And we're like, haha, you're stupid. We get to laugh at you. Okay. That's like, I guess, not too far beyond normal comprehension, right? So, but these like sociopath, I want to say, type of narcissist, they're too far gone off center, right? They've edged God out all the way. But then they forgot that God is everything. And so how do you edge God out of everything? You don't. You edge yourself out, right? It's like it's suicide, basically. But they're not realizing it. And so just pointing out the dark holes, the shallow dark holes, take pleasure in trickery. It's like they don't even see themselves, or what they're doing, or what they're part of, or any of it, right? And so these type of people will also, like a sociopath, for example, would take pleasure in the trickery of like, and just the trickery. There doesn't have to be a pun. Nothing has to be too ironic. Nothing has to like, in order for them to be incited to do it, the only element that needs to be present is the part where somebody is being outsmarted by another person. That is their obsession. Okay? It took me a long time to figure out, wow. Lately, every time I say something that's like worth saying, my wind chimes go fucking crazy. It's weird. Like I hadn't even said anything at first because I was like, I'm gonna wait. But wow, it doesn't stop happening. Anyway, so like it took me a long time to figure that one out. Because I was like just staring at these people for a long time, like, what's wrong with you? Like, they're not high. They're not like, and that's a lot of our assumptions it makes sense, right? It's like that Greek word axiom. it seems fitting to categorize it, because people don't have like a general knowledge of what most drugs are. Basically, they don't understand that they don't change your character. And so the fact that everyone likes to use the drug as a scapegoat, like, oh, I committed these crimes, I got away with stealing from all these people, I got away with killing people, like basically doing whatever the fuck I want, no repercussions, and I just get to blame drugs for it. Hell yeah, let me take that deal. I'll do it, right? And so obviously it's very, very, very clear to anyone willing to put the work, like, yeah, actually put the work in. I mean, take hours, take days, take weeks at a time and study this shit because it's important. Of course, that's the reason. And then the justice system has done, wow, of all the institutions in the world, I'd have to say the justice system in America has become a joke almost, I think, to everybody. And I'm not trying to make a comparison. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not trying to say like in other countries are so much better. I'm saying we are better than this. We know better. And the fact that we know better and we're not doing better, that in itself is a joke. It's embarrassing. And so they're creating this type, in a sense, like this Frankenstein of a narc that like just gets to do whatever and be okay because, hey, guess what? Everybody else is okay with it. We have laws that state this, so that makes it okay. Any doctor, any good doctor would tell you that the body works in uniform. Am I saying that right? It doesn't matter how I'm saying it because it's true. It works together. You can't have like a virus or fever in like one part of the body and then the rest of the systems not be affected by it. Okay, so anytime you have part of a system that's actually failing, I mean, besides the fact that it's actually failing, it's doing the opposite. It's creating a system of an unjust system of government, and it's systematically nitpicking based on the worst possible variance, I guess, that you could possibly find. Like, can you think of anything stupider than to? I really want us to like take the time to try to think of something. Can you think of something of a worse criteria to use to judge someone's righteousness, to judge someone's morality, than by skin color, by biological connection to certain things? Hasn't this been for thousands of years the same thing that we've been told through this higher divine power that we all keep saying we're accepting? We say we do. We say it with our words, with our stupid human words, we say it. But what the fuck? Tell me, show me someone that's actually following it, because did God not say he made them man and woman? He made them both to live in harmony with each other, despite the fact that we betrayed him. He still looked out for us. And then there was a reason, right? And so everything following that, for example, then this is also a great example, the story of Canaan, right? It said, but we don't know. This is, at this point, this is all allegedly, to me at least, because as far as my grandparents are concerned, and like anyone that I know, they have not explained to me why Canaan was cursed. So based off the stories that we all know, we can deduce that Canaan was cursed because of something that he did to his father. And so this was, if we're going to simplify it, let's just call it betrayal. You betrayed your own kind, and that could be anybody that we betray, right? Anybody that we try to impose our will over theirs. and on them, right? So this is their lives. It wasn't like his dad was like, it wasn't Canaan. It was Ham. I was Ham, right? Because Canaan's Ham's son. It doesn't matter. It's the same seed. So we're all of the same thing, but apparently there's different seeds. And so the spirit that is in all of us has become separate because, according to this literature, right? So Canaan, the land of Canaan was cursed. It was given to so many different people because, right? So many were like, these people also don't deserve it. These people don't deserve it. These people don't deserve it. Meanwhile, the descendants of Shem and Japheth were fucking fine. They're happy. They're living their lives. They're progressing. They're making discoveries. They're communicating with each other. They're traveling the world because some of the descendants of Japheth were maritime people, as they were called, the Asians. They settled in Asia, and the others stayed in like the Middle East, Israel, Iran, Iraq, all that, Babylonia, all that area. So it was like farther up north, right? But Canaan was in Africa. And so what was the reason? Obviously, God had said, "Depart from me. These are my clean, righteous people. I don't want you dirtying them, affecting them with your more shitty morality," basically, right? And there was that created this need to accept that punishment. Whether or not they accepted it, I doubt, because before you can come in and reunite or have this like anything with God's people, it would be righteous to think that maybe they would have to make up for that sin that they committed, right? Anyone who doesn't have any sort of like disruption in their moral consciousness is going to feel the same way. Honestly, something is owed here. Don't come asking me for another favor. Don't come acting like nothing happened. Don't pretend, because it adds more to your sin now. It's not, and it's multiplying. It's not like this is just as bad as the previous sin. It's like, wow, the audacity. You know what it would take for someone to really behave in a way as if they never even did anything? Because you have to imagine, though, somebody that did you so dirty that you think, I would never in my life, doesn't matter who, like, I would rather die than do that to somebody. And then that person wants to come back and tell you, hey, I want to do it again. And it's fine. And you're just going to listen to me, because why wouldn't you? You're stupid. Like, I don't think any of these people have even thought to consider how they're sounding. And so it's probably not as bad as let's hope it's not as bad as we think. Because if that's the case, then they're just stupid. They're just too stupid to, like, trust with any heavy machinery or anything sharp, right? So that's fine. It makes sense that why, like, God banished them to the desert or wherever he put them, in Africa. And so that's why it's the perfect lie, right? Because it's an intrinsic lie to say, well, we're going to punish. They're distracting us, right? They're like, we are God now. We're punishing, right? We punish better than God Almighty. We think we're better than him, because God had already punished the people, the people who were enslaved. And what else did he say? He said, "Thou shalt not have slavery in your nations." And people didn't care. They continued. And so now God has to punish everybody. And as we can tell from basic algebra, what does that amount to for the Canaanites? So now he's blessing the Canaanites because they're being oppressed by their own people. He's blessing them and punishing them at the same time, and punishing the people who are enslaving. But this is all like systematic because it's designed systematically, right? It's by the power of the universe. It's not something that like God like doesn't push any buttons or something for it to happen. It's just automatic. So in a sense, we have to understand that we're doing it to ourselves in that exact way by putting ourselves in front of everybody as I am the slave master, or I am this person that provides the slaves for you, right? And so in that like in that situation, everybody around that person is going to see, right? Or at least the people buying the slaves from them, they're going to know, oh, this person is okay with slavery because they just sold the slave to me. How could they not be, right? We testify against ourselves in that way, but in many ways. But this is what narcs keep doing. And so, what is Richard? What I wanted to touch on that Richard said that was fucking hilarious to me. Oh,
a child, you're abandoning a vulnerable child who can't cope in the world. They're so isolated, they're so misunderstood. They always have a sob story. You know who else had a sob story? Ted Bundy. There is a
yeah, Ted Bundy. So perfect example of a sociopath. If you just Google, I mean, be careful what you're Googling, guys. No, seriously, don't take it like it's not a joke. That shit will traumatize you for life. Be careful what the fuck you're Googling. I mean that. But if you, I would definitely type in list. So it's just a list of names and like no graphic images. And you'll get like, there's countless names. We have so much public documentation on these sociopaths, what they did, how they did it, and who they got to help them do it, basically. Because you have to understand too that these people are stupid. Like they may be good at one thing, but that's because they're specialists. They focused on nothing. In a sense, they meditated their way into murdering somebody. They meditated their way into gaslight manipulating someone, into killing themselves, or it's always some variation of that. It's like a control tactic. And so anyone who studies these people can clearly see that at the core of every action they ever took, it was a power trip for that person. And it could be that the others didn't even know that they were power tripping. It could be that someone else was just happened to be like this, have this stable position in the community, and this other person saw that obviously and became either jealous of them or saw some, thing that they could exploit easily, and so they went for whatever. It's a power struggle, because that's what they thrive on. They don't understand love the way empaths do. They don't understand any other like any type of like good thing, a good feeling. If it feels good to them, it has to do with power in one way, shape, or form. Um, and I think that's the number one definitive quality of like whether or not I'm going to classify you as a sociopath is that quality, because oftentimes we wait too long, right? Look at all the ones in history. Do you think that those numbers have changed very much from then to now, or do you think people are just getting way better at getting away with it? Yeah, I don't think we're going backwards, guys. Mm. So when you have your little list, just keep that close by, even if it's like not all inclusive. I mean, pick your favorite, like, I don't know, top 5 or something, and then put that somewhere where you can look at it every day. Because this is not something that should be out of sight, out of mind. It's all around us constantly. We're just not paying attention to it. What is in my hair? It's like hay. That's what I wanted to end on, really, was not just to be aware of it, but Everybody has a sob story, including Ted Bundy.